Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. We all celebrate Christmas Day, right? So, what is the main purpose of celebrating Christmas Day, right? How it came to the society? So, all these things we do have some questions in our mind. So, before going to this, let us understand how the Christianity started in the Europe and all over the world, how it is spread. So in this video we are going to learn about medieval Europe and the rise of Christianity. This is class 7th ICSE syllabus. Yes. So look at this map. There are so you can see this, the Roman map in the Europe. Can see like this during that time how was the Europe in the medieval period. So medieval period in the 950 to 1300 time, so the Europe continent looks like this, and after that there are lot of changes happens in the medieval period. So this is the timeline of European history. So there are three divisions in the European history: ancient, medieval and modern. So medieval means, first of all we want to learn what is the word medieval derives. The word medieval has been derived from the Latin term medium aevum, which means time in the middle. So it means the middle age. It is the period which lies between the ancient and the modern period. That means which lies in the ancient and modern period. This period we'll call as a medieval period. So how do we know exactly when the ancient period ended and the medieval period began? There does not exist any well-defined general rules for the division of the world history into ancient, medieval and modern periods. Though the divisions of history into periods varies from one country to another, generally the historians have given and taken the time period between 600 here it comes 600 CE to 1500 CE as a medieval age in the Europe. So in this period there are a lot of changes happens in the Europe. So first one you can see here, ancient thinkers try to figure out the world, great accomplishments in art and maths, philosophy they developed. And also you can see in this 500 AD and 1300 to 1500 AD, there are a lot of changes. Life in Europe is difficult and dangerous. Few people are educated and little advancement in learning takes place. Christian church is also powerful, and also people look to it to lead them to a happy eternity. Eternity is nothing but the higher state of the happiness. And here you can see, you all know that 500 AD, AD stands for Anno Domini. And here in the age of the medieval history, the Renaissance is nothing but it stands in a rebirth. That means there are a lot of changes taken place in that. Scholars discover knowledge of the ancients and create amazing art, literature. They introduce the different kind of the literatures, so which is very useful for the society, and also architecture they developed, etc. So influence of humanism make this life count, but Christian church is still very powerful and influential in the society. Why this Christian church is very powerful? There are a lot of reasons for that before the Jesus birth. So that is what we are learning in this video. Next, what we are learning? So here, so we learnt about the European history. I mean medieval Europe history will be divided, how it is divided, what are the changes happen in that period. Now coming to the India, in the case of India, so the medieval period does not correspond to the medieval period in the other parts of the world. So it stretches 18th to 18th century. So actually 18th century CE. This period has been further divided early medieval and also late medieval periods. So the period from the 8th century to 13th century, 8th century to 13th century, see, when the ancient period was coming to an end and the medieval age was taking shape in known as early medieval age was taking shape. Then after that, the period from the 30th to 18th century, 30th to 18th century C is known as the late medieval age. During this period, the changes had become established and they were no longer regarded as new. The late medieval period in Indian history is further divided into two periods, that is Delhi Sultanates and also Mughal Empire. Okay, here it will come. So here you can see this diagram, ancient period, Stone Age. We learned already in 6th standard Stone Age, like Paleolithic, Neolithic and Mesolithic and Chalcolithic age. How the early humans evolved during that time, the one stage to another stage. And also here medieval period divided late medieval and early medieval. So in the late medieval period we have important kingdoms in the North India, Deccan, South India. So if you talk about North India, Rajputs, Palas, Pratiharas and Senas will be coming, and Deccan, Chalukyas and Rashtrakutas. South India, Pandyas and Cholas. Deccan will be coming like Madhya Pradesh and present day India, and North India most probably Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, like that. In South India, if you talk like that, Pandyas and Cholas are very powerful in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and even some part of the Karnataka. Early medieval period, it will start 8th to 13th century. Important kingdoms emerged. Emerged means kings was established their own powers. In North India, the Delhi Sultan is the most powerful during that time, and Mughals and Chauhans. In the Deccan part of India, Vijayanagar is the very famous and very excellent kingdom which we can talk about history. And South India, Pandavas and Pallavas were the ruling during that time. This was all about Indian history. So you can compare like how the Europe will be divided as a medieval history, and what is the changes happen in the Indian history. So when we talk about history, there are differentiate, because one country have different periods, like another country has a different history periods. Okay, so now coming to when we talk about the lesson itself as a medieval Europe. So what happened? The emergence of the spread of the two major religions in the Europe, that was taken place. Lot of changes in the medieval period had major impact of the social, political and economic structure of the period. In this chapter, we shall study the rise of Christianity and its contribution to the medieval world. So not only Christianity, even Islam also emerged during that time. So this lesson all about the Christianity. So means how the Christianity rise in this period. So before going to that, let us discuss about the social circumstances before the Christus was born. So what was the social circumstances? So everybody has that kind of the doubt, what kind of the social changes they have. In the middle of the 1st century BCE, the Romans conquered Palestine, that's a modern day Israel, the homeland of the Jews and the place where Jesus Christ was born. For thousands of years, the Jews were subjected to foreign rule. That means they are following like Egyptian, Syrian, Babylonian, Persian, Greek, Roman, with only brief period of the independence. The Romans established a two-tiered system of government in the Palestine, which is the capital city of the Israel, whereby the Roman overseers and Jewish leaders exercised control in the name of Rome. According to this system, the Romans appointed King Herod, known as the client king. Okay, the client king to run the huge kingdom of Jews. So here Roman occupied the Judea, and was often politically explosive place prior to the Jesus birth. Herod is the Great, and he had made a client king of Judea by the Roman Emperor Augustus in the aftermath of the complex civil war. Actually, he was a client king. He is not having his own perspectives. Whatever the Emperor Augustinians will say, that he has to follow. Next, so what happened when this Herod came to rule? Romans practiced one country, two systems policy, whereas all the people had religious and political freedom, but a strict control was maintained. For example, Jewish citizens were under the authority of the Jewish court system, yet all the ruling for death penalty had been sent by the Roman government. Jewish independence was still within living memory for those living under this rule, and Herod would eventually become extremely paranoid and utterly ruthless in the pursuit of law and order. He was very rude in that orders, and he employed secret police and regularly cracked down on the local population to keep the peace. He even had 3 of his own sons executed. And also, although Herod was cruel, he was an effective ruler over the fractious and rebellious nation. While Herod was a client king, Rome had not really made its presence felt. The empire left Herod to handle his own people. It's not that much, even he developed a lot of changes he made in the Judea. But in the one part of the corner, he will be following his own kingdom's rules. But Herod would die in 4 BC, that means before Christ, which left a politically fractured nation with a strong sense of self in the hands of his weaker sons and the Roman effect. So Herod was detected by the Jewish people for his tyrannical rule, and because of his rule in selling out of Jewish heritage to the foreign power, it is the Roman brutal in his exercise of power in Jerusalem, that Rome replaced him with one of its own governors, Pontius Pilate. So similarly, too many farming villages throughout the world, life in the village in the Palestine was patterned after the traditions, roles and rituals passed down from many generations beforehand. The village area of Nazareth was populated mostly by Jews, but also what they made with some diversity of Syrians, Greeks, Romans. The major city of Palestine was Jerusalem, which was more urban. So the common language in Roman Empire was Greek. However, at the time it was common for the Jews to use the Hebrew, Aramaic and Latin. The hub of the village was the marketplace and shops and for the Jewish village. And also the economy of the first century Israel was supported by 3 segments. One is agriculture, of olives, and second one is trade fostered by Israel's key location of the Mediterranean Sea, and large government building projects sponsored by the King Herod. King Herod employed many laborers but commissioning many public works, example building temples in Jerusalem, palaces, ports, fortresses, stadiums, and also ornate stone carving, etc. There was very large disparity between rich and poor when he was ruling during that time. The Jewish people accepted their freedom in the bottom, both their governing system and the maintaining their own traditions. Yet the Roman government required that everything be ultimately subject to the Roman authority. So here you can see the King Herod's son who came to the power. Herod's sons controlled Jerusalem and its surroundings, Judea proper in Augustus handed control of the area of the Roman perfect. He was the son of the Herod. His name is Augustus, and also he started ruling that particular area. The Roman governor from then on would control Judea proper in the conjunction with the Jewish high priest of the temple. The temple itself was central to the Jewish religion, and high priests had often been kings in the past. The high priest was in the charge of the day-to-day governing of the populace, and the prefect would interfere only when necessary or when trouble was brewing. So these were some cases when the see while when they were ruling in that particular area, they have made lot of changes. While the head of the temple was now pre-approved by the Romans, they always came from one of the artistic priestly families whose lineage could be traced back to the early days of the Old Testaments. So here you can have one doubt, what is mean by Old Testament? There are there is in a Christianity there are two books. One is the Old Testament and New Testament. So you can see this comparison chart, like a New Testament comprising number of books like 27 books, and Old Testament is consisting of 39 in Protestant Old Testaments, 51 in Catholic Old Testaments, 55 in Orthodox Bible, 57 in Coptic Bibles. So the vocabulary, the New Testament contains a vocabulary of 4,800 words. The content will be, the New Testament focuses more on the life and teachings of the Jesus and the Christian church. When we talk about this Old Testament explains the history of the creation of the world, the Exodus of the Israelites, and the 10 commandments given the Moses by God. So whatever the changes they made, Old Testament they already have. So some changes they made in the New Testament. So here in the New Testament also, second major division of the Christian Bible we can call, which is written in a Greek language. And when we talk about Old Testament, it's already written in a Hebrew and Aramaic. So the Greek is the main language for the Romans, so that they can understand very clearly. All you have to do is to repeat, and you have forgive automatically in the New Testament. And here you can see Jesus came to save the earth. So when we talk about New Testament, Trinity of God, God the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit, and Jesus came to save the earth, because most of the Christians believes that Jesus came to save the people during that time. And here also you can see Old Testaments they have given God will send a messenger to bring salvation on the earth. So this they are completely believing the in Christianity, so that if some people have any kind of the trouble in the society, definitely the God will send any messages to save them. Even not only Christianity, even whatever the religion, we can take Islam, we can take Hinduism, whatever we take, all the holy books they have written this message. It is very common. Now, so what happened in the when he Pontius Pilate came? So he had made lot of changes. The upper class was made up of the temple priest, and the priestly assistant include Sadducees. So here we can see Sabbath. So Sabbath, what is mean by Sabbath? We have one doubt. So that means Sabbath is nothing but the Jewish tradition was centered on the Sabbath. The Sabbath began a few minutes before sunset on Friday and lasted until the appearance of stars in the sky on the Saturday. Sabbath was started with the prayer by lighting the candles by the wife of the household, followed by the joyful Friday supper. Sabbath was considered to be a day of rest and worship, whereas everything one did was honor of the God. So the Jewish Sabbath was from the Hebrew, that is Shabbat, to rest, is observed throughout the year on the seventh day of the week, Saturday. According to biblical tradition, it commemorates the original seventh day on which God rested after completing the creation. scholars have not succeeded in tracing the origin of the seventh day week, nor can they account for the origin of the Sabbath. The seventh day week does not accord well with either a solar or lunar calendar. Some scholars pointing to the Akkadian term Shabbatu suggested Babylonian origin from the 7-day week and Sabbath. So here they are giving the gratitude to the honoring the God. Like this they are following in this Jewish traditions. Now coming to the one more thing, what is the importance of this Sabbath? So you can see there are a lot of importance. The central significance of Sabbath is reflected in the traditional commemorative and interpretive literature called Talmud. Example, if you wish to destroy the Jewish people, abolish their Sabbath first. That means here the king who was appointed as a governor of the Jews, Pontius Pilate, who was the son of Herod, he was following exactly this one. He want to destroy their religious. So that's why the people are very much sad about that his rule. So what they started, they are waiting for their Messiah. That means Jews were waiting for the Messiah. Why the Jews are waiting for Messiah? Because these Roman governors, those who are appointed from the Rome, they are not giving the equal rights for them, and they are not treating well them, and also they are touching their traditions, and also they are opposing about their religious. Who were the Sadducees? Here we have it could be seen as priestly class in Israel, though not exclusively. They were considered high status individuals and often dealt with had good relationship with the Romans after the nation became a part of Roman Empire. Many embraced Hellenization, and which was the process of the becoming more like Greeks and Romans. They could hold administrative and respective position in the government. Some of them held position in the army and collected certain taxes and could solve domestic conflicts. That means Sadducees, they are wealthy and conservative leaders who rejected the traditions on favor of the political and religious cooperation with the Romans. But there are two sectors they made, divided. Jewish religion and governing system was divided between two sectors. One is Sadducees and one is Pharisees. So here they did not believe the soul went on the after death or in the existence of angels. In one of their most notable conflicts with the Jesus, they tried to trick them with the question about heaven because they did not believe it existed. So even some people, they'll not believe after the death we have life, but some people they will believe. They also believed exclusively in the power of humanity and free will rather than the destiny or God for ordaining anything. Who were the Pharisees? So here the first itself I talk, the Jewish religions or governing systems. The Jewish religious and governing system was divided between two sectors. One is Pharisees and one is Sadducees. So these are the People's Party. Pharisees is called also People's Party. That means the Pharisees also rose the prominent in the wake of the building of Second Temple and the return from exile. They actually came about as a political movement after the return from Babylon. A family called the Maccabees successfully fought back Greeks when one of these Maccabees, John Hyrcanus, became the high priest. He influenced both political and religious authority. So that means they separated, they do have two sectors. One is Pharisees, the People's Party, who taught the law and traditions of the Israels and patriarchs and were strictly conforming the Jewish law, and the Sadducees are the wealthy and conservative leaders who rejected the traditions in the favor of political and religious cooperation with the Romans. Okay, so the upper class was made up of the temple priests and the priestly aristocracy, including the Sadducees, and the middle class comprised traders and merchants, artisans and stone cutters, and also masons, sculptors, and craftsmen. Like craftsmen means they do work with the metal, they'll make the sculptures and wood, cloth, dye, etc. So the Pharisees are sages and scribes. The scribes means the people who will translate the books from one document to another document. And teachers were also a part of the middle class. The lower class was made up of laborers, like weavers, stone carriers, slaves, like non-Jewish persons taken into slavery because of debt, and the unemployable, lepers, blind, insane, crippled, etc. The Roman government heavily taxed the Jews. Tax collectors were local employees considered to be outcast and traditions. So this is the some kind of the changes happen in the society during the before birth of the Christ. With this, I am going to end this lesson. I hope you understand this lesson. Next class, we are going to discuss about the birth of the Jesus. So that we come to know there are a lot of changes happen in the society before the Jesus Christ. So why the people are waiting for this? Because they want to change their life because of his rule, because of their rule. What happened? The Jewish people believed in one God, that is monotheism, who was invisible and could not be portrayed in context surrounding cultures, that Romans. But that Romans are believed in many gods, that is polytheism, who could be represented by images or idols. So, and also the Jews are waiting for the Messiah, the Savior, who would bring them spiritual renewal and political freedom from centuries of foreign oppression and currently from the Roman Empire. This belief was based on prediction by the prophets in the Old Testament. Thus, religion and politics were deeply intertwined in the Jewish faith. So, I hope you understood this lesson. This is the part 1 of rise in medieval period and rise of the Christianity. The next video I am going to discuss about the second part, like how Jesus was born, what is the change, what changes he made in the society. So I hope you all understood this lesson. Thank you for your cooperation and your support to seeing my videos, and also I have seen lot of people are seeing my videos. I think it will be very helpful for me to explain more information, and please do subscribe. Thank you very much.